Forbes 40 under 40, fitness enthusiast, runner, new father. Please welcome Arjun Vaidya on our show. Thanks Arjun for coming and meeting with me inside the meeting room with Megha.
Thank you so much, Megha. Thanks for having me. And honestly, it's one of the few times when I have no idea what we're going to talk about. So I'm excited for the conversation.
Inside the meeting room, the concept is that the great things come out of collaboration within people. And most collaborations today happen inside the meeting room. And that's where we are coming from. We kind of put you here inside a meeting room here. So the theme today is that we're going to talk about the first of the business, which is very important for people who are just starting off and they're looking up to entrepreneurs like you who've cracked it, have been there and done that. So we'll be starting off with that.
Excited for the conversation.
So we'd want to understand what was your first idea growing up as a child?
Yeah, look, I wanted to be a pilot when I was in the second grade. I remember, they would say, draw what you want to be when you grow up. So the first idea was a pilot.
Okay.
I think by like third, fourth grade, I really fell in love with cricket. The next idea was to bowl like Javagal Srinath for India. And then at some point towards 8th, 9th grade, I became fascinated by hospitality.
Okay.
So I thought I would be a hotelier at some point. And then by the time I finished school, I had absolutely no idea.
When you again started Dr. Vaidya's, what was the first starting point? Was it the vision? Was it the mission? Were the matrices that were more important? How did you start?
I think the starting point or the first starting point was honestly my grandfather passing, right? So we had this legacy, we had these formulations, we had this clinic. But that moment, you always have that moment as an entrepreneur, right? Where the switch flips. And my grandfather passing started this thought in my head that this is our legacy. I was in a private equity job, which I was getting a little bit restless in, and I wanted to sort of do something more early stage, more entrepreneurial. But the last thing you do is go back to your family, right? You think of hundreds of ideas before you go back to your family. And so I started thinking about this, and it was in the back of my mind, but I was exploring a bunch of different ideas. I remember it was like services and maintenance of holiday homes was one idea. Okay. Another idea was something like urban company for home improvement. And in all of this, I remember it was April 2016. It was my dad's 50th birthday. I went to that party, which was in his office, hosted by his team. And I gave a speech on my dad and what my dad had in terms of impact on my life, right? And at the end of the speech, by this time my father had passed, his clinic was running as a dispensary, and his few team members who were in his team would still be there to dispense medicine for all those patients who came with a prescription. After the speech, his nurse of 17 years came up to me and she said, "You're talking about your dad, but are you okay that your grandfather's legacy will die?"
Yeah.
And that's when the switch flipped for me. Matrices, idea, ideation, vision, mission, that all comes later.
That all comes
but I think
later.
this moment of saying, hey, this is it, right? This is it moment for the entrepreneur. That was the first one for me.
How did you select your first team members? How does that come when you are like just starting off?
Went to this recruiter and I said, hey, this is my company, this is my vision, this is my LinkedIn page. That's what I want to do. Can you help me recruit? And they said, where's your website? I was like, I don't have a website yet. I'm honest, I'm starting up. I haven't started up yet. They were like, hey, look, we don't engage with companies like yours. Get a website and call us back, right? And at that moment, it really hurt me.
Yeah.
But then eventually with time, I think I realized why they said what they said, because there may have been lots of people they worked with who didn't have things up and running.
Yeah.
The first team members were really hard because it was not them interviewing with me, it was me selling to them the vision, the mission, what we're trying to do, right? And I think that was difficult because a lot of people actually said no to me.
Yeah.
And life turned around, right? From being someone who was doing interviews in private equity, and that relationship was me interviewing, it turned to me pitching to the people who were interviewing in my organization. But I think there were 3-4 people who agreed, and then we set off with 4 or 5 people in this office. And that was the beginning of the journey. And I'll be honest, I think a lot of the early team didn't work out.
Okay.
And that's okay, right? Because things don't move as fast as you expect them to move. People grow out of what you're trying to do. You grow too fast, you grow too slow, etc. All of that.
Yeah.
it is a little bit disheartening. But I think if you stay core to your philosophies and what you set out to do, you'll eventually get there.
How do you first choose your co-founders?
A relationship with a co-founder is just the one less close than marriage, right? Because it's a relationship that you have to continue for a minimum of 5 to 7 years, if not 10, 15, 20 years. Now, if you don't know the person, you don't know anything more than the person's skill set. And you don't know how you gel, you don't know how you'll interact with each other in tough situations. Initially, when you start interacting, it's all honeymoon phase, right? And so I think that a co-founder is someone who has complementary skill sets, but is also someone you have a deep relationship with.
I agree.
Because a lot of times the going will get tough. And if the relationship breaks there, it's a really big problem. My co-founder was my girlfriend, who then became my fiancée, who became my wife. And the reason it worked is because we had complementary skill sets, but we were as driven to achieve that goal as each other.
So starting off a business and once you kind of have the ball rolling, how does the first order feel like?
I think I don't clearly remember the first order, probably from like friends and family. I used to send a WhatsApp to everyone saying, check out our website, etc. What I do remember is talking to the first set of 100 customers myself. Picking up the phone, talking to these people, understanding why they wanted to buy from us. Like, why did they actually engage with us? What excited them about our brand, our vision, our mission, and what we had to offer. And then understood very quickly that these customers are not like me. 70% of them don't speak English.
Okay.
They come from outside Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai. They were from Muzaffarnagar, Anantnag, Imphal and Trichy. And so I needed to, as an entrepreneur, find a way to cater to them. And the way to cater to them was not to do what I enjoy or what I like. My ads moved from English to Hindi and English. My communication moved completely from these minimalistic, sexy creatives to stuff that gave these consumers value. And I think that conversation with the first 100 consumers actually made me realize that there is a world beyond the world I see and have to open myself to that world.
How do you celebrate your first wins?
So what we used to do is every time we crossed a 100 order benchmark, we'd cut a cake in the office. And sometimes we'd cut 3 cakes in a week, but we'd ensure we take out those 15 minutes to cut a cake, reflect on where we've reached, who has been responsible, including the members of our team who are responsible, celebrate them and then move on. And this cutting a cake as a symbolic activity was really important for us. Because we remember those moments. We would send a cake to our vendors, our partners, saying, hey, we appreciate you, we've reached here and we couldn't have done it without you. And so I think that celebration of small wins, and it's not a big celebration. We don't have a big party. In the office, everyone will stop their work for 10 or 15 minutes, cut that cake, eat that cake, think about what you got and get back to work.
This is super helpful, Arjun. I think for people who are just starting off, because early on people kind of expect the wins to kind of come in early and they push off the celebrations for later. But of course, like you said,
small wins.
Small wins are the key and we should never miss an opportunity to celebrate them. Thank you so much. This was...
Thank you, Megha. What a beautiful conversation.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much.